In the second of a series of short films on performance, I'm meeting Tim Etchells. Tim is the very embodiment of the blurring of lines between art and theatre. In 1984 he set up Forced Entertainment, and today is the first day of his solo show at London's Gasworks. What are the synergies between your kind of solo work and the work you do with Forced Entertainment?
For a long time I did struggle to reconcile the different areas of work that I do, whether it's in performance or in visual art context or in fiction, in writing. And only more recently have I started to understand that, in fact, for me, all of those things root back to performance. Generally speaking, I think even when I'm making objects or text works on the wall or images, these things have a kind of performative quality. And also, I think very often the work outside of performance space still continues to be interested in processes, in liveness, in ideas around kind of negotiation, and the unfolding of events, if you like. So even when I've made work in neon, like this series of neon signs that I did the year before last, one of which was, wait here, I have gone to get help. As soon as you read this, you're sort of in something. You're instantly, as soon as you've read it, you're wondering, well, who's gone? Why have they gone? What should I, it's, in a way it's quite hard to resist. Just because of the way that language works, you're sort of in a way automatically in a rather odd situation. So yeah, it's just, in a sense it's a static piece, it's an object, but the desire is to kind of unlock something that's quite related to performance.
Tell me about your use of language in both your solo practice and Forced Entertainment. There seems to be a breaking down of the structures or the rules, and in its place you sometimes put your own rules.
I'm very interested in defining rules, defining limits to what one might actually do. I think because in a way the worst thing is, if you're making a piece in any context, the idea that you can do anything is always sort of tremendously demoralising and sort of depressing, difficult. Whereas in a way, once you have understood or conceived a kind of frame in which you might operate, then the possibility of sort of pushing against that and also working inside it to open out possibilities becomes much more kind of possible and interesting.
Sorry to interrupt you mid-flow. It's just that I'd like to do my dying now. I'd like to do my big death scene.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right, okay. Sorry, do you want me to carry on with this, or just,
The piece, City Changes, which is here in Gasworks, is a kind of exploration of a very, very particular limit, a rule that I'll be writing and rewriting the same text, that the process of writing and rewriting will always contain itself within one A4 page, there will always be a description of a city, and that the changes to the text from version to version to version to version are tracked using colours, so that in a way you can see the text in each case, but you can also see this kind of archaeology of the changes that have gone into it, the decisions that have gone into it. I think in this work and in much of the performance work, there's an interest in this sort of paradox, I suppose, of saying, well, formally here one's very, very limited, but actually there's huge possibility for invention and for breaking rules, but also saying, actually, within these rules, you can do a huge amount. That to me is really sort of exciting.
Allora, diciamo, queste 4 parole io credo che le abbia scelte Tim, perché diciamo sono quelle che, alcune delle parole molto usate dai critici o comunque per identificare il lavoro degli artisti. E allora, queste 4 parole le ricerco, sono memoria, corpo, archivio e spettacolo.
With art flavors, the ice cream maker is given he has to communicate, but he's given a very kind of strict framework of being able to do that, which leads to this kind of sense of absurd and kind of, it's quite funny watching him struggling to do that, the poor guy, but that kind of sense of absurd kind of runs through your work.
Yeah, I think oftentimes there's a desire to sort of, I suppose, if there's a drama, I mean, I'm not really interested in drama in the classical sense, but if there's a drama, it's often about watching either me as an artist, or in this case, Roberto Pinto and Osvaldo Castellari, trying to negotiate a kind of preposterous situation, you know, which is caused by the rules or the frame that I've put in motion. And then what you're watching in Art Flavors is the two of them, particularly Osvaldo, but actually Roberto's also kind of busy trying to sort of get through this quite difficult kind of task, if you like. You're watching them negotiate that and try to come off well, to do something they are happy with, and so on. And the struggle is the thing that's sort of interesting, I think.
Corpo, memoria, archivio, spettacolo.
E su questa base dovremmo fare del gelato.
Esatto.
Dovremmo costruire un...
Esatto.
You watch Osvaldo struggle rather with this quite nice 4-word lecture about contemporary art. But then what makes the piece for me is that the next day you see him actually succeed in kind of transforming that into the different flavours of ice cream, and he becomes a different kind of performer. I mean, when you watch him receiving this lecture, it's a man under great stress, you know, it's like he has a piece of paper and a pen and he doesn't write a single word, you know, all 20 minutes.
Guarda, troppo forte. Scusatemi, però non ci riesco. Sorry. Situazione drammatica.
Non ti preoccupare.
But once he's in the kitchen, which is actually the area where he normally works, he's super confident and creative and comes up with really amazing solutions to the problem. So I think, you know, my work often, in a sense, is about setting up a problem, a formal structure, a restriction, an invitation, and then seeing how either the performers of forced entertainment, or me as a writer or a maker, or two invited kind of collaborators, how they will cope with this strange, absurd situation. I mean, in a sense, that's performance to me. You know, that's that process of watching people cope and deal and improvise and negotiate and make moves. That's what interests me.
If you could arrange a private screening of any contemporary motion picture for the suffragette leader Emily Pankhurst, which film would you choose and why?
I think I'd probably contemporary.
Contemporary motion picture.
Rugrats, the movie, because it was the last film I saw and I didn't really like it, and I'd be glad of a second opinion.